Ryan Wilson, Bryant McFadden in the mix here to break this one down, guys. Wins come in all different shapes and sizes, and the quality of those wins also needs to be taken into account here. LA does get the win, but dominant for about 2.5 quarters, and then sort of let go of the rope, B-Mac. Does the quality of this win concern you at all?
No, not right now. They just needed to win. It was ugly in the second half, allowing, 24 points from Atlanta based on some woes via special team-wise, and then, of course, turnovers. But they found a way to win this ball game. But I have some concerns in regards to the Rams, especially Matthew Stafford. We saw some costly interceptions, things that you don't expect to see from Matthew Stafford, especially given the chemistry he has within that offense. But this was a must-win type deal for the Rams, with their expectations being so high that they could not afford to go down 0-2 in the beginning of the season. But when they needed to play, guess what? The big-time, prime-time player stepped up in Jalen Ramsey, who had a rough one, week 1 against the Buffalo Bills. So it was good to see him have a bounce-back game and being able to seal the deal basically with that game-clinching interception.
I feel like I'm a little bit more concerned than you are, B-Mac. You need to dominate this game at home against a Falcons team that isn't very good. I mean, we've been saying the Falcons for months probably going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, and they fought for 2 straight weeks, and that's a credit to Arthur Smith and to Marcus Mariota. But it makes you wonder what's going on for the final third of the football game for the Rams. You mentioned Jalen Ramsey made that play in the end zone. It was a great interception, jumped over the Falcons wide receiver who had a chance to put the Falcons ahead there. But the lapse on special teams, block, punt, return for touchdown, that can't happen. That is unacceptable. And you mentioned the Matthew Stafford turnovers. That was a hallmark of his play at points last year. He was tied for the league along with Trevor Lawrence. He's throwing him up this year as well. Had some bad interceptions last week, had a couple this week, one in the red zone right before halftime. They were able to get that back because Marcus Mariota followed up with his own interception just before the half there. But I have concerns. And look, maybe I'm overreacting, but I feel like now this race is tightening up in that division because, again, Jimmy Garoppolo is back on the field for the 49ers. Maybe that's unfair. We'll see. But I feel like the Rams, no matter who's the competition, should be playing much better than they are. And it's not like this isn't a veteran group. Yeah, they have some questions at left tackle because Andrew Whitworth retired, but Joe Noteboom is a pretty good football player. They got to figure this thing out. The good news is when you figure it out and you win a football game, that's a good way to start next week, as opposed to how things ended in the Week 1 opener against the Bills.
Yeah, we're always leaning into teaching points inside of wins. That's the important thing here, Ryan. They will get that litmus test against the 49ers in 2 weeks in prime time after they make a trip to Arizona. They will make that trip to Santa Clara. Let's talk about Stafford here for a moment, Ryan, because 4 touchdowns to now 5 interceptions in this young season. He's giving it away at a very alarming rate, but we were more worried about that elbow coming into the season. Final line today, 27-36, 272, 3 touchdowns, and those 2 pesky INTs as well. Anything you saw here on Sunday quell the worries about the elbow?
No. And B-Mac can speak to this better than I can, but typically when a really good football player isn't playing how you expect them to play, a lot of times it's an injury we don't know about or something they're not letting on that perhaps is bothering them more than perhaps we have any idea of. And I think maybe the elbow issue is a concern for Matthew Stafford. Look, he's always been a gunslinger. He's always forced the ball downfield. He's had a lot of success, and he has something in the way of less success in the way of turnovers. So that's the deal that you're getting. Is he an upgrade over Jared Goff in L.A.? Absolutely. There's a reason they went to the Super Bowl last year and won that thing. But he also made some mistakes along the way, and those are the things you have to live with. He's going to continue to make those mistakes. He's not changing at this point in his career. But I do wonder if he's 100% healthy, whether it's the elbow or something else we don't know about, because he looks a little off at times. Other times he's making fantastic Matthew Stafford-like throws, and then there are the concerns that you have. But again, block punt, that's not Matthew Stafford's fault. Cooper Kupp fumble, which you never see late in that game that gave the Falcons a chance. His teammates need to help him out as well.
Just when you think the Atlanta Falcons are quiet quitting early on a season, they don't go away in this one. They come back, but to no outcome with a win at the end of it. Let's talk about some of the adjustments here week to week, B-Mac, because that's what this game is all about. And week 1 did not show us what we wanted to see out of the Los Angeles Rams in a title defense coming out in prime time against what is probably the best team in the NFL right now, no less. But adjustments week to week, did anything stand out in LA for you?
Yeah, I think they got to find a better way to run the football. When you look at what they were so good at a year ago, the play action pass was something they leaned on. But because of the woes in running the football so far this season, we haven't really seen the dominant play action led by Matthew Stafford. So that's a big part of their ball game that hasn't really been called upon a lot so far in 2 ball games because of the issues running the football, offensive line-wise as well. We're not seeing them keep Matthew Stafford comfortable. That's something to be mindful of moving forward, because I can tell you this much, and the reason why I felt like this was a must-win, regardless of how you get the job done, you needed to beat the Falcons because you're better than the Falcons. And now the next 2 weeks you get into your division play. You got to travel to Arizona. You got to travel to San Francisco. As Ryan mentioned, now San Francisco has a new quarterback. The old man is back in the saddle. And I believe he gives them a better chance in winning ball games, me personally, based on what the numbers have shown me. So now understanding and knowing for the Rams how huge this game was, you get a chance to go on the road and play against better teams than what you played against today.
Same question to you here, Ryan. What's the biggest change you need to see week to week early on in the season here to tell you that LA is not going to go away, not going to be one of those teams that suffers the Super Bowl hangover and just kind of lays down dead against the better teams in the NFL? They just squeaked by the Atlanta Falcons, who we have very short hopes for this season. Let's put it that way. What's the biggest adjustment right now for you?
Short hopes indeed, Joe. B-Mac touched on it, the running game. You got to get the running game going. I know we live in a day where football is all about airing it out. But the good teams can still run the ball. Look at the San Francisco 49ers, how they made it so far. Look at the Miami Dolphins, for example, a team that certainly have changed their fortunes over the first 2 weeks. And I think that's important. And you also got to start getting after the quarterback a little more consistently. We saw glimpses of what that world looked like without Von Miller, and Von Miller was wreaking all the havoc in week 1 in that matchup against the Bills. You have to find someone to consistently get after the quarterback and put pressure on the quarterback, because there's no excuse for having a game against the Falcons where it's this close. It wasn't all on the defense, certainly not. We talked about the special teams and some lapses on the offensive side of the ball. But I think that's a critical part of making the back four so much more effective. Jalen Ramsey probably would like to see more pressure against Josh Allen in week 1. A little bit better job this week, and we saw the interception at the end where he made that big play. But primarily the running game, bolster that edge rush, and perhaps put a little more pressure on the opposing team's quarterback.
They are now 1-1. Cam Akers was a bigger part of that rushing attack here in week 2. We'll see if they continue to split carries and if they can get that run game going in LA. Gentlemen, great work as always on this one.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.